At 82, I've lived through many experiences that have shaped my understanding of life. But there's one decision I made that I deeply regret: moving into a nursing home. At the time, it felt like the right choice. My family encouraged me, assuring me that I'd have all the care and comfort I needed. I believed them, trusting that this would be the best option for my future. But what I discovered was far from what I had imagined. I know many of you might be considering the same path, whether for yourself or a loved one. You might think it's the safest decision, or that it will make life easier. I get it. I thought the same. But before you make that choice, I want to share 6 hard truths that I wish someone had told me before I moved in. Because the truth is, life in a nursing home isn't just about convenience. It changes everything. And once you're in, leaving isn't as simple as you might think. Stay with me until the end, because some of these lessons might surprise you. And if you know someone considering a nursing home, this video could be exactly what they need to hear before making a life-changing decision. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and turn on the bell, so you don't miss any videos that could help you make better decisions for yourself and your loved ones. Let's dive into the first regret I want to share with you. When I first moved into the nursing home, I thought it would be just a change of scenery. I imagined it would be a place where I would have everything I needed, surrounded by people who would care for me. But the biggest shock wasn't the small room or the set meal times. It was the moment I realized I had lost control over my own life. Before moving in, I had my routines. I woke up when I wanted, ate when I was hungry, and spent my days the way I chose. I could take a walk whenever I felt like it, cook my meals, and find peace in the quiet moments. That freedom, those little choices, were mine, and they gave me a sense of independence. But in the nursing home, everything was different. My time was no longer mine. Breakfast came at a set time, even if I wasn't hungry. Lights went out at a certain hour, whether I was ready to sleep or not. Want to go for a walk outside? You might have to wait for someone to be available to assist you. Even simple decisions, like what to eat or what to wear, started to feel like privileges rather than everyday choices. The hardest part wasn't just the loss of independence, it was the emotional toll it took. I remember my first week there, waking up in a bed that wasn't mine, surrounded by walls that didn't feel like home. I reached for a book I had been reading at home, but when I looked around I realized this wasn't my space. I wasn't in control anymore. And once you give up your independence, it becomes harder than you think to get it back. If you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself, are you ready to give up the small freedoms that make life feel yours? Because once they're gone, you'll miss them in ways you can't quite imagine. Regret number 2, feeling forgotten. One of the hardest truths I had to face after moving into the nursing home was realizing that the world outside keeps moving without you. When I first arrived, my family reassured me they'd visit often. My daughter came by once a week, my grandchildren visited on weekends, and for a while, it felt like I was still connected to my old life. But as the weeks turned into months, the visits became less frequent. My daughter started calling instead of coming, and my grandchildren got busier with school and work. Holidays were the hardest. Everyone promised they'd come, but somehow, plans always changed at the last minute. I found myself sitting alone in the common room, watching the other residents stare at the door, hoping someone would remember them. It wasn't that my family didn't love me, life just got in the way. And when you're not around every day, people begin to assume you're okay. They assume you're adjusting, that you don't need as much attention, when in reality, the longer you're in a nursing home, the more you start to feel invisible. I remember one evening, sitting alone in my room, holding my phone. I debated whether to call my son. I didn't want to be a burden. I didn't want to remind him that I was here, waiting for a visit that might never come. So, I put the phone down. And that's when it hit me, this was my life now. Waiting. Hoping someone would remember to include me in their busy lives. If you're thinking about moving into a nursing home, ask yourself, are you prepared for the loneliness? Because no matter how much your family loves you, once you're out of sight, it's easier than you think to become out of mind. Regret number 3, losing my sense of purpose. When I moved into the nursing home, I thought I was just changing my living environment, not my entire way of life. At home, I had responsibilities that gave me a sense of purpose, simple things like watering the plants, making my morning coffee, or tidying up around the house. These daily rituals kept me going and made me feel like I was contributing to my own life, but in the nursing home, those things disappeared. Meals were prepared for me, cleaning was done by someone else, and even the plants weren't mine to take care of anymore. At first, I convinced myself that it would be nice to finally relax. No more chores, no more responsibilities, just rest. But after a few weeks, I realized something was missing. The days began to feel long and stretched out, with nothing to do but wait for time to pass. I saw it in other residents too. People who had once been full of energy now spent their days sitting, staring into space, waiting for something, anything, to happen. There was George, an 84-year-old man who had been a carpenter his whole life. At home, he was always building things, fixing little projects around his house. But here, there were no tools, no projects. He sat quietly, and after a while, I saw him withdraw into himself. His hands, once so skilled, now just rested in his lap. It's hard to describe the feeling of suddenly losing your purpose. You go from being someone with tasks and goals to being just another resident in a place where time moves but nothing changes. Life begins to lose its meaning, and soon you start to feel like you're just waiting to pass the time, rather than living. If you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself, what gives your life meaning? Because once you're there, finding purpose isn't as simple as filling your time. It's about holding on to what makes you feel alive, even in the smallest ways. Regret number 4. Declining health faster than expected. Before I moved into the nursing home, I was doing pretty well for my age. I wasn't running marathons, but I could still take care of myself. I went for walks, cooked my own meals, and kept up with my little routines. But once I moved in, everything changed. At first, it seemed like I was just taking it easy. Meals were brought to me, and I didn't need to worry about cooking or cleaning anymore. If I needed something, I could simply push a button, and someone would help me. But what I didn't realize was that the less I did for myself, the weaker I became. I stopped moving around as much, and soon my legs began to feel stiffer. I found myself sitting for long periods, and before I knew it, even getting up from a chair started to feel like a chore. The muscles I had worked hard to maintain over the years were disappearing faster than I ever expected. It wasn't just me. I saw it happen to others too. People who had been able to walk on their own now relied on wheelchairs. People who had once been independent now needed help with things they never struggled with before. The more assistance we received, the more we seemed to need. I met Alice, an 81-year-old woman who had been lively when she first moved in. She used to take daily walks around the facility, always insisting that she wouldn't slow down because of her age. But after a few months, I noticed she wasn't walking as much. Then she started using a walker and eventually, a wheelchair. One day, she looked at me and said, "I feel like I've aged 10 years in just a few months." It's easy to forget that movement isn't just about convenience, it's about survival. If I had known how quickly my strength would decline, I would have pushed myself harder to stay active, even when I didn't feel like it. The nursing home might make life easier in many ways, but it also makes it easier to stop moving, and that can lead to a rapid decline in health. If you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself, will you still have the motivation to keep your body strong when everything around you is set up to make life effortless? Because once you slow down, getting back up isn't as simple as you think. Regret number 5. The loss of privacy and dignity. One of the things I didn't fully consider before moving into the nursing home was just how much privacy I would lose. At home, I had my own space. I could close the door to my bedroom and sit in silence when I needed to, or do things on my own terms. But in the nursing home, privacy becomes a luxury you no longer get to keep. From the moment I arrived, I felt like I was constantly being watched. Staff came in and out, there were scheduled room checks, and shared spaces where you rarely have a moment to yourself. Even simple, everyday tasks like getting dressed or using the bathroom often required assistance. I know the staff were just doing their jobs, but it's not easy to accept help for things you've done independently your entire life. It's a humbling experience to realize that the smallest bits of autonomy you once had are no longer yours. I remember struggling with the idea of needing to ask for permission to do things I once took for granted. Want to take a shower? You may have to wait until someone is available to help you. Need to use the restroom? Sometimes you'll find yourself pressing the call button and waiting longer than you'd like. Meal choices were limited too. If you didn't like what was on the menu, well, there wasn't much you could do about it. And let's not forget about roommates. Not everyone gets a private room, and sharing a space with someone you didn't choose can be frustrating. While I was lucky to have a kind roommate, I heard many stories of people who weren't so fortunate. Some had roommates who were loud, unclean, or had cognitive issues, making it nearly impossible to get a good night's sleep. What really struck me, though, was how much dignity I had to surrender. When people knock but don't wait for an answer before entering, when you're spoken to like a patient instead of a person, when your daily routines are dictated by a schedule you didn't create, it changes you. You start to feel less like yourself, and more like just another name on a list. If you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself, are you ready to give up the privacy and control you've had your entire life? Because once it's gone, it's hard to get back. Regret number 6. Realizing it's harder to leave than you think. When I first moved into the nursing home, I told myself it would be temporary. I thought I would give it a try, see how things went, and if I didn't like it, I could always leave. It seemed like a simple decision. If I wasn't happy, I would just return home. But what I didn't realize was just how hard it would be to leave once I was settled in. At first, leaving seemed like a possibility. I thought I could go back to my house if things didn't work out. But soon, my house no longer felt like home. It had been left empty for months, and maintaining it from a distance became difficult. My children had already started making changes, selling things they thought I wouldn't need, even considering renting out the place. When I brought up the idea of returning, they hesitated. Are you sure you can manage on your own? Wouldn't it be safer to stay here? We just want what's best for you. Their concerns, though well-meaning, made it harder to leave. The physical toll of nursing home life made the idea of returning home even more daunting. After months of not having to cook, clean, or walk very far, I wasn't as strong as I once was. The independence I once had started slipping away, and with it, my confidence in living on my own. The fear of being unable to manage alone kept me stuck in a place that no longer felt like my own. I met others who thought they would try out the nursing home for a while, only to realize that leaving wasn't as easy as they thought. The longer you stay, the harder it becomes to adjust to life outside. Some people even lost the option entirely once their home was sold or their savings drained by the cost of care. That's the part nobody tells you. Moving in feels like a decision you can reverse, but for most people it isn't. The nursing home slowly becomes your whole world, and before you know it, the outside life you once knew starts to feel like a distant memory. If you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself, are you prepared for the possibility that once you go in, leaving might not be as simple as you think? Because once you settle in, the barriers to leaving, whether financial, physical, or emotional, can be harder to overcome than you expect. Looking back, I don't regret growing older, but I do regret believing that moving into a nursing home was my only option. When I first walked in, I expected comfort, safety, and a better quality of life. Instead, I found a world that slowly took away my independence, my privacy, my sense of purpose, and even my dignity. Does that mean nursing homes are all bad? Not necessarily. Some people genuinely need the level of care that nursing homes provide, and for them, it can be a safe and supportive environment. But before you make that decision, think carefully about what you're giving up. Because once you move in, life will never be the same. If I could do it over again, I would have fought harder to stay in my own home, explored more ways to get help without sacrificing my freedom, and made sure I truly needed to be there before making such a permanent move. If you're facing this decision for yourself or a loved one, I hope you take the time to ask yourself, is this truly what's best for me, or is it just the easiest option right now? The life you have today, your routines, your independence, your choices, is worth holding on to for as long as you can. Thank you for watching. Your thoughts and experiences matter to us, so feel free to share them in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe for more videos that could help guide you through difficult decisions in life. We look forward to seeing you in the next video.